Brett Crowther here with Charles Schwab. And on August the 18th, I did a YouTube short on price patterns, what could potentially happen. And I want to go back and look at that and just see what has developed since then, in the last 10 days. And to find that short that I did, you go under the Trader Talks webcast down to shorts, and it's this one right here, how price patterns might help us see potential stock movements, the full name, but you can check that one out. But let's follow up on those. Let's look at what's happened since then. All right, so let's minimize this. And by the way, this is not a recommendation, just using these to talk about the patterns, and I'm not recommending the stocks or anything like that. Now, when we talked about this, it was right here. It had actually broken out of the symmetrical triangle that had been forming, and this is on Tesla. And what had happened is it found support. It actually had a hammer here, and then almost like a doji, and then a big candle almost making a morning star, and it kind of bounced off support and has rebounded and been heading up since then with a potential price target up around the 415, 420 area. Now it could also continue back down, but according to the price pattern, the expectation technically would be for it to go up there. With that said, let me take you over to the next one we looked at, which was ADP. ADP also had a symmetrical triangle. It was winding up. Now, it was in the middle of the triangle when we talked, and it after that did break out. However, unlike Tesla, it came back down. It had a hammer here, but fell to bounce off support and actually kind of fell back into the middle of the channel. And so this would be a failure of a symmetrical triangle. And so, one on one side, one on the other side, right? The last one we looked at was, I got to hit that button right there. When we hit that, we got MU, and MU had a flag pattern. And so it found the pole right here running up, and then it had a flag. And this is where we're talking right now at that point, mentioning it could come down and find support around 38, 50, or 62. Well, what happened? It fell down to the 50%. It actually dropped down intraday to the 62, but basically has been holding in here about halfway of this pole, and it gave us a hammer pattern. But since then, what's happened? Well, it's just been going sideways, maintaining that support level. Now, according to the flag, if it in fact does maintain this and bounce, it could potentially run up to the target up around that 139. Or, will it go sideways, or will it drop back down? That's the question, right? Because it really hasn't had any confirmation of even close above the hammer candle that it had a few days ago. So we had one that's kind of made a little bit more of a move, one that's kind of fallen apart, and one that's kind of sitting there. I think it's just interesting to follow up, check those out, right? And so, again, this is for illustrative educational purposes only, and just wanting to follow up on what has happened technically since we last talked. We'll catch you another time. Thanks for joining me.